Welcome back to another edition of People Are Terrible. I'm Jeremy, and I'm joined as always with co-host Caleb Miles. What's up, Caleb?
What's up, man? Oh, I was telling you before we started recording that I got on Twitter for the first time. Actually, got on this morning and I saw something that cracked me up. It was a thread of women showing off their MILF bodies, and I clicked on it, and it was like literally everyone was like 18 to 20.
Uh-huh.
Like, you don't count as a MILF. Like, I'm sorry. You know.
Yeah, that's so they had Twitter bodies or social media bodies.
Yeah, I'm like, you're not a MILF. You're 19. That's the result of good genetics and poor decisions. You don't get a pat on the back for that.
Yeah, the perfect cocktail. All right. Well, on today's show, we're going to start it off with the Worldwide Weird, where we discuss some of the week's biggest weird news headlines before we hit Interstate 10 and head on down to Welcome to Florida, where we're going to talk about, I got a bunch of animal topics this week, you guys. When the news cycle is slow, I go to our four-legged friends, and that's what we're looking at this week. But then we've got some interesting topics. I want to talk about some of our most embarrassing moments. Caleb has proposed what franchise director dream pairing would I like to see, and I got a couple of answers for that, and then we're going to wrap things up. So let's go ahead and start it off. Google Maps detour strands more than 100 vehicles near the Colorado airport. Did you see this?
No.
So, first of all, I am a big user, not Google Maps. I always use the Apple, I guess it's Apple Maps. I don't know, the one that comes on the iPhone. And I trust it. I have, gotten everywhere I've gone the past couple years off just putting in the address and following it there. My wife has an inherent distrust of following the maps that other people. I'll put in the destination and I'm like, all right, well, it says to go this way, this way, and this way. And she's like, well, what are the cross streets? And starts like really trying to deconstruct it. I'm like, fuck, I don't know. I just do what she tells me to do. When she says turn right, I turn right. And she's like, a lot of times they don't lead you the fastest routes. And I'm like, well, typically I get there, If it says it's going to take 22 minutes, usually it does. Well, apparently Google Maps had set all these people getting off the airplanes on this certain path. Let me see where they were actually headed. But they ended up just completely bottlenecked on this completely remote dirt road. And there's hundreds of them just standing outside their vehicles looking around like, what the fuck happened? Okay,
That's
drivers headed to the Denver International Airport said they were diverted by Google Maps Sunday due to a crash on Pina Boulevard that led the app to offer a detour. The drivers were led down a dirt road that soon turned muddy due to recent rains, and vehicles ended up stuck with about 100 cars lined up behind them.
I was going to say, I was like, how did this happen? Because I've taken that I-70 to Pena. Like, that's how I get to the airport.
Okay.
And I'm very familiar with this. So I was like, how the hell did this happen? It's literally, we have a freeway that just goes to our airport. So I was like, why the hell is this happening? But that makes sense. There must have been a crash. And then out by our airport, there is nothing. It's like a 40-minute drive to Denver. It's ridiculous. There's nothing around it.
That's crazy that that it updated it in real time to know that there was an accident en route. I don't think that the iPhone does that.
Yeah, that's the thing about Google is that it'll literally even Google, you'll be on the freeway and they're like, get off on this exit, go down the frontage road, hop back on because there's an accident in between these two.
Have you had good experience with it?
Yes, except for over by DIA. My wife's friend bought a place in this like new subdivision. It's kind of in the middle of nowhere. And we took the thing and it just like it took us to some area. Then we're like, where is this? And then on the back of the invitation it said, do not use Google Maps, it does not work where we live.
Wow.
And they gave us actual directions, and we were like, so then we were like 45 minutes late to this person's housewarming party.
They were the ones that said don't use it because it's not gonna. So obviously somebody had made the mistake before.
Yeah. And I was like, oh shit. So that's the only time. But besides that, Google Maps has always been great for me.
I remember this was years ago. I delivered pizza and I didn't have the smartphone yet. I had one of those, who makes them? they're old, but
Garmin or whatever.
yeah, exactly. That's right. And so I had that hooked up, and I had put in the directions to this one of the addresses that I was going to for this delivery, and ended up hitting just this small dirt road that led straight to a dead end. Turns out it used to be a road, but they shut it down, and I guess the Garmin wasn't aware of this, so I was just like, oh shit. Had to actually use a map, and that was catastrophic.
Yeah, I don't even know. Like, I used to use maps, and I don't even know if I know how to do one anymore. I probably end up in the middle of nowhere.
Well, and what sucks about this, dude, is like back in the day, I used to be able to memorize how to get to people's houses. Now I have no fucking idea. I've gone to a person's house 5 times and not have a clue on how to get there because I'm just in autopilot following the directions.
Yeah, I do the same thing. Like, I'll be like, I've been to this person's house. I'll know the general area. I'll know like the first half of the trip. And then I'm like, what street do I turn on? Because you used to have to remember. It's like people's phone numbers. I don't know. I know my wife's phone number, and that's literally it. Everyone else, if I lost my cell phone, I could call one person. That's it.
Do you remember your phone number at your childhood home?
No, I don't.
9390318 was like the house that I lived at the longest growing up. I remember that.
I do not remember. No, I'm shocked I don't.
You remember any old girlfriends' numbers or anything?
Oh, fuck no. I didn't know there's numbers even at the time.
Yeah, yeah, man. I definitely used to be able to like photographically remember phone numbers. I had 100 of them in my head, and now, yeah, same situation. I don't think I've looked at anybody's phone numbers. They're just saved in your contacts by their name, so they might as well.
It's the whole thing too. You get a new phone and you lose a couple numbers. Someone texts you. I'm like, I have no fucking idea who you are. Like, you don't exist to me.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Oh, so this is a side tangent. Whatever, we'll come back around to it later. It's about a faith healer church that came through. So remind me about that before we.
Okay, faith healer church. Okay.
It's forgotten. It's yeah, right. We'll see. We'll see if it comes back around. All right.
I'll remember that as well if I do a phone number.
Yeah, correct. Scientists investigate what triggered unusual 3-shark attack that killed U.S. woman Jordan Lindsay in Bahamas. Now, this definitely qualifies as weird news. Not the most funny story. I definitely wanted to bring it up because it's what I've been kind of reading up on the past couple of days. Did you hear about the California girl that was down in the Bahamas swimming with the pigs? She got attacked and killed by 3 sharks. So in the Bahamas, there's a place called, I think it's called the Bay of Pigs, if I'm not mistaken. It got to be a very popular influencer destination. Your Kardashians or whatever would go down there and they dive with this herd of pigs. Nobody really knows how they got to the island, but there's a couple dozen of them, and people will go and swim in this beautiful crystal clear water and take pictures with these pigs. Well, this girl was down there vacationing. She's like a huge animal person, 22 years old, somewhere between 20 and 22. And she was out there swimming. Her mother was in the water with her. Her family's up on the beach, and the father saw sharks approaching her and started calling out to her, and she didn't hear them. She wasn't able to react in time, and a big ass tiger shark bit her one time. Other sharks came in, started fighting over her, pulled limbs off, just fucking tore her to pieces basically while everybody sat there and watched, and then just kind of swam off, disappeared. People were out there diving later on that day and got pictures of one of the 3 sharks that were supposedly responsible. But dude, this is such a freak accident, and I'm trying to like piece together how it happened. And this is like something, how do you even, figure that out? Like, how can you say what the motive of a fish was? But as unusual as shark attacks are, the fact that there were 3 tiger sharks in the same area is pretty unusual within itself because they're solitary hunters. So I just thought it was strange, man.
I've never even heard, because Bay of Pigs, of course, I think of Cuba. Isn't that where the Bay of Pigs is?
Oh, so, you know what, bro? Yes.
No, so I Googled it, the Bay of Pigs or Bay of Pigs on Eczema Island.
Yeah.
Search Bahama Bay of Pigs. And it's crazy. The like off subject a little bit is just to see these pigs out there swimming in this crystal clear water. It's fucking weird.
Yeah, like what are they doing there?
This is the weirdest pic. I'm going to show you. This is some sick fuck gave this pig a hot dog.
Cruel.
Holy shit. That's terrifying.
So I started thinking, man, maybe the pigs are a food source for predatory
That's what I
sharks.
was thinking.
Turns out, no, a couple of pigs have died out there lately, and there was kind of unexplained reasons why. And I was thinking, well, shit, they got picked off by sharks. Turns out they found the bodies of the pigs intact, floating around out in the water out there. So even dead pigs aren't getting picked off by sharks, which are typically scavengers. So it's just really strange, man. And I mean, people go down there and not only swim with the pigs, but there's like nurse shark sanctuaries where you can go and swim with the nurse sharks. This is the first fatal shark attack in around 10 years in the Bahamas.
That's just so weird that, yeah, three of them, because my brain went to where yours did right away. I was like, well, it's probably because there's pigs always out there. It's easy. It's an easy food source. But if they're not eating the pigs, that's very weird.
And obviously, people aren't natural prey for sharks. I'm sure that once there was blood in the water, that's what the other sharks were probably responding to, you know? Tiger sharks,
Yeah,
man.
blood and movement.
Yep, yep. And tiger sharks have a pretty bad reputation. And now, when I say that, it's not like most sharks are aggressive, but of all of the shark species, I think tiger sharks and bull sharks are said to be the most aggressive. White sharks are responsible for the most deaths, but when a shark is that big, an exploratory bite on your leg, you're gonna fucking bleed out.
Yeah, the you hit an artery on your leg and you're done.
Yep. Yeah, and it doesn't matter. Like, the great whites aren't out there trying to eat people. They'll hit you one time to find out what you are, and at that point, it's already too late. You know, where if like a cookie cutter shark or a nurse shark bites you, chances are pretty good you'll walk away from it. You know.
Holy shit, that's a weird story.
Yeah, I want to say, like, I've told you on the show before, like, I am terrified of sharks, and it's kind of a unjustified fear because of how many people swim with sharks and don't get attacked by them. But then there's these kind of horror stories where it's like it's impossible not to think of that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So in 2000, there were 79 shark attacks reported worldwide. 11 of them were fatal. I want to say you've got a chance of like 1 in 26 million of actually being attacked by a shark. So it's not something that I think people should, you know, don't live your life in fear of going in the water because of shark attacks, but you definitely should be mindful of it. I don't know what the takeaway from this situation is, other than it's really fucking sad, dude, and it's kind of a freak accident.
Yeah, it's one of those things, like, I don't even know, because normally I'm like cracking jokes, but I'm like, obviously I can't crack jokes, and I don't want to, of someone who died. Like, that's fucking crazy.
I think it is fair to say that with any wild animal, there's an inherent risk of like, you're putting yourself into an ecosystem and an environment that you're not dominant in. So when this kind of shit happens, it's like you can't fault a shark for being a shark, you know?
Yeah, you see it all the time. Like, people get mauled by like a tiger or something. You're like, well, you did hang out with a tiger. Like,
yeah,
that's what they do.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. Somebody asked, what are the chances of being bitten by a shark? The odds of getting attacked and killed by a shark are 1 in 3,748,067. In a lifetime, you're more likely to die from fireworks, lightning, drowning, a car accident, stroke, or heart disease. Well, yeah, way more likely.
Well, my thing is yeah, that's true, but you got to think that actually is surprisingly high for me, because you got to think those are people who actually have to be in a situation where they're even able to be attacked by a shark. I'm obviously not going to be walking in my neighborhood and get attacked by a shark. So
yeah,
number's higher than I thought it would be.
Yeah, you're actually right about that as well, though. Like, I wonder, like, if you live in a landlocked state, are your odds the same as a person that lives on the fucking water? You know, like that's like, the weird thing. They're taking the whole human population to come up with this average. You'd imagine people in the water are way more susceptible to it.
Way more.
And then what fucking difference does it make the statistics when you're in the jaws of a shark? Like, who, you know what I mean? One person is just as likely as another because it's just such a random occurrence.
I can confidently say I have a 0% chance of being attacked by a shark. I live in Colorado.
Right.
Unless there's like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle mutant shark that walks up and knocks on my door and eats me. It's not going to happen.
Right, right. Yeah. All right. Well, sad. We'll move on to this next one. Speaking of sharks, fermented rotting shark creates a stink at Sweden's disgusting food museum. So I happened to come across this video yesterday. I did a video on it, like a reaction to a lot of these gross foods at this Swedish museum, and some of them, dude, are just so gross and out there. And then our entry in this museum, the things that America premiered as their disgusting food is root beer and Jello cakes.
I agree with both of those.
You're not a root beer drinker.
I mean, it's okay, but it's kind of disgusting.
Is it?
Yeah, it's like a weird flavor. I can see, like, if you're not accustomed to it and thinking it's disgusting.
That's a good point. So, like, culturally, people have different delicacies, obviously. But to me, like, there's just like a false equivalency between a sheep eye juice that's actually got a sheep eyeball and blood in it to fucking root beer. Gelatin, I think, is made from like cow bone marrow or something, but I don't know if that's really any grosser.
Gelatin in general, like, that texture is weird. You know what I mean?
It
I can
is.
understand. Like, it's so culturally based that there's things that, Americans, even most Americans, you give them a fish head with fish eyeballs, they're gonna freak out, and that's like eaten all over the world.
Absolutely. So this one that I've got on the screen right now is mouse wine. It is some sort of white wine, looks like a rice-based wine, and at the bottom of it, it is just full of fucking pinky mice that you would put in a snake cage to feed a snake, you know?
Would you try it?
Fuck no, dude. I don't think I could.
Yeah,
Would you?
Oh, hell yeah, I'd eat all this shit.
All right, hold up. I'm going to bring the next one up and we'll see if you're committed to it. All right, this was it's like a cheese, and on the inside of it, it is crawling with live maggots.
I would
fuck
try
with that? Would you?
Yeah. I've eaten grasshoppers, I've eaten ants, I haven't eaten a maggot, but I've eaten caterpillar.
Grasshopper is pretty good.
Yeah.
Or crickets is what I had. Sorry about the pop. Crickets is what I had.
And then a grasshopper. I also had a tarantula, which was delicious.
Was it really? My buddy Ray ate one of those.
Yeah, it was really good. Mine was cooked in like sugar base and caramelized. It tasted like popcorn. It was pretty good.
So Hakarl is a some sort of Scandinavian fermented shark jelly, basically. That I might be able to try, but Anthony Bourdain actually said it's the most disgusting thing he'd ever eaten, and homeboy had eaten some shit.
I would try all these things. Not saying I'd like them, but I'd try them all.
Oh man, I would try to try them all. One of them that's coming up. I don't want to.
Got sick.
Yeah, I think it's the psychological element of it. I don't know that I could not get sick. One of them's a bull dick.
I've eaten bull testicles.
Have you really? Rocky Mountain oysters?
Yeah. Yep.
Are they good?
Tastes like chicken fried steak. It just tastes like chicken fried steak. It's not good or bad.
Texture?
It literally, if I give you a piece of chicken fried steak, you can tell the difference.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah, it's literally just like that. It's pretty good.
I was surprised. Vegemite is one of the UK's entries into it. You ever had that before?
Yes. Have you had Vegemite?
Yeah, I have. It's
fucking
fine.
Disgusting.
It's not that bad. It ain't good, but it's not that bad.
It's definitely way worse than tarantula.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like it's also cultural. Vegemite I think is pretty gross. Now that being said, I could eat it. Like I just had mine on a piece of toast. I don't know if that's how you're supposed to eat it.
Yes, that's how I had mine.
Yeah, and it was shitty, but like I wouldn't. It wasn't gross enough to make me puke, but it wasn't like good enough to make me go, hey, I'll have another.
Yeah, Australians and the English, I think especially Australians, love that shit. Roasted guinea pig.
Ooh, I would totally try that.
Yeah, I think I could actually try that too. They need to do something to obscure the fact that it's a roasted guinea pig, though. It's like they just pluck the hair off of it, split it open to clean it, and then just roast the entire thing. So its hands are still there, its head's still there.
That's the best way to eat meat, man. I want it staring at me.
Man, it's so ridiculous. The exhibit, they've got 2 taxidermy guinea pigs that are like looking over this dead guinea pig.
That's
musk
amazing.
sticks, Australia's favorite musk sticks. You know what that is?
No, never. Or is it like a muskrat or what is it?
I don't know, man. It looks like candy. Let me pull this up real quick.
Have you ever had like Japanese fish paste?
Uh-uh.
That shit's gross. It's like in a tube. Oh, it's awful.
So Norway has it's caviar that comes in almost like a aluminum toothpaste bottle, and you spread it on top of crackers or whatever you want to. Vicky eats it on top of like salmon sandwiches, and it's really fucking good. It kind of tastes like that bacon cheddar cheese that like comes out of a can. You know what I'm talking about?
Okay.
It's not a bad flavor. It's a little smoky tasting. Actually kind of a fan of it.
That's what I'm saying. Half the stuff, like I've eaten some weird shit and been really, really surprised.
I don't know what musk sticks. Musk essence, gelatin, icing, and sugar. What is musk?
I have no idea.
No, I mean I thought it was like a scent.
Yeah, that's what I would have. That's reddish. What I've always heard.
Oh, secreted by the male deer. Okay, I see.
Okay,
it's a little gross. Not bad. I'd fuck with it.
Try it.
Yeah. I'm cool with that. Like if you obscure what it is enough, like I probably wouldn't have a problem eating a sheep eyeball if I didn't know, like have to look at the fucking eyeball.
Have you ever eaten like any sort of eye before? Like fish eyes?
Nope.
I have. They're all right. They're nothing great, nothing bad.
This might hurt your heart. I know you're a big turtle fan. This one is a like they dry out entire turtles, like little baby turtles, like under 5 inches in circumference, completely dried, and then they just set them on top of like a salad, like several fresh vegetables. So I guess you're just eating an entire dehydrated turtle.
Like turtle jerky?
Dude, I guess. I mean, dude, like shell there. Shell, like
the shells are?
It's the entire turtle. Like if you took a turtle and you just fucking freeze dried it and then set it on the top of some vegetables, that's what you're eating.
I wonder if you can eat the shell, like if it's like soft shell crab, or if it's like.
So you've had soft shell crab?
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
It's really good. Deep fried whole crab, I'm all about it.
And then here in Florida, we eat some things that other people in the country don't think is good, like mullet. Have you ever had mullet before?
No, what is that?
It's just a fish. It's a bottom feeder though. That's the thing. It thrives in brackish water, and they eat from the bottom, almost like a catfish. So when you fillet them, there's like a gray part of the fillet, which is basically just I think all the shit that it's been eaten over the years. Yeah. And a lot of people consider them trash fish, but they're like a favorite here in the area in particular, and I think they're great when you fry them.
That's a lot of these things. Like it's just cultural perceptions of it. It's not, I'm so open. I eat anything. Like I'm one of those people. I will fucking eat anything. I will try anything.
I'd like to be that kind of person, and I've got a fairly diverse palate. There's not too many things that I have eaten that I think are just absolutely disgusting. Like I don't know if we've talked about it before. I've had frog. You ever had frog before? Frog's
great. Frog legs are great.
Alligator?
Like chicken wings.
Yes, that's exactly what they're like.
Alligator, salty chicken. I love it.
These are good descriptors. All right. Octopus?
I love octopus.
And then calamari, fried squid's pretty good.
I love calamari. Yep. I'll order that anywhere that has it.
So we got a lot of different seafoods that I think that people have tried before. What else? You got any other weird ones?
I'm trying to think. I don't think so. I'm sure something will come up because I always will be like, ooh, what's this? Let me try it. And when I go to a restaurant, I always order the weirdest thing if I've never been to a restaurant, I order the weirdest thing on the menu that I can find every time.
You ever had escargot?
Yeah, I actually have. It's really good. I had it at the same time I had frog legs.
Yeah, and escargot is great. It's really good. It's the flavor comes from the broth in it and stuff, and it's pretty damn good. So yeah,
it's a lot of work for a little bit of food though.
And then you think about it like lobsters, like the tradition of steaming a whole lobster and bringing it out on a plate. I'm sure there's somebody somewhere that thinks that's disgusting.
Well, I know a lot of Americans who do. Like a lot of people in like landlocked states freak out when they see a lobster.
Really?
Yeah, it's weird as shit. I'm like, it's lobster. It's delicious. You'll love it.
Big, giant cockroach of the sea.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah,
crab's better. But
crab is better. I agree with you, man. Especially like Alaskan snow crab.
Oh, yeah.
Sets you free.
Now I want some fucking crab. Some seafood. Damn living in Denver. It's so expensive to get fresh anything.
Are there seafood restaurants in Denver?
Yeah, and there's like the good ones are the ones that they like fly it in fresh every day, but then you're paying for that.
We've got a place, Joe Patty's Seafood is one of our seafood markets where the boats actually pull up to it and they'll sell
Yes.
seafood off the boat. And then there's one called Maria's, and each of these places have seafood restaurants within them where you can get, I mean, the freshest fish you can find unless you go catch the shit yourself. So we're definitely big seafood fans.
That's what I miss about Seattle so much is the seafood.
Oh yeah, dude, y'all had like one of the biggest
Oof.
fish markets in the world over there.
Dude, next fucking level. Like it made me I liked seafood before. Seattle made me into like a diehard seafood fan.
And then Victoria lived in South Korea, and she said the markets there are just so unique or unusual to what we're used to. They'll have like tanks with live fish swimming around in it, and you know, I think it's fairly accurate to say that people in China will eat all sorts of stuff from the ocean that Americans don't necessarily eat. So they had some real
We'll go to the
unusual
Asian
stuff.
markets out here because they have like Korean markets out here, and it's the same thing. Everything's fresh. Like
Yeah,
they will take it out, cut its head off, wrap it up in front of you.
yeah, that's
They're like,
awesome.
"Do you want it gutted? Do you want to do it yourself?" They're like, "It's awesome,
All right, well that's
and
some
it's so cheap. It's great."
yeah, dude, there's a couple it's interesting how like I guess I don't want to. It's not gentrification, but how certain communities kind of like populate certain areas, and all of our Asian markets are basically within the same like 2 to 3 mile stretch.
Yeah, see, that's awesome.
Are y'all's like peppered around throughout, or is like
Yeah,
Chinatown like a certain
we
area?
don't really have an Asian population in Colorado. So
Interesting.
there's a couple, but there's not like many, so we don't have, they're just kind of random neighborhoods throughout Denver. There's just like not even neighborhoods, there's just random stores in neighborhoods.
Well, we'll go ahead and move on to Florida Man headlines this week in our Welcome to Florida segment. All right, on this one, this is a personal topic that I picked out. Albino alligators create batch of albino eggs at Florida Park. So back in 1992, I think I was in fourth grade, and I went to the Aquarium of the Americas, which is a big aquarium exhibit over in New Orleans. And they were showcasing this new litter of pups, albino alligators. There were 18 of them, and it was like this really unique circumstance because of how few albino alligators there are out there. Well, as the alligators started to grow up, the zoo sold them off to several zoos across the country, all over the place.
Uh-huh.
Well, in 2015, the mother or the father alligator from the Audubon, the Aquarium of the Americas, ended up dying. Well, all of its offspring are all over these different zoos. One of those offspring just now gave birth to or laid a patch of eggs at this Florida park. So it looks like I'm seeing the second generation of these albino alligators be born. And I think that one, was 20 some odd years ago. And so all of those little alligators have grown up, and now one of them is having babies, which I just thought was kind of neat.
It says 19 eggs are considered the rarest batch of eggs in history.
Oh, wow.
These are. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, it really is.
Do you think albino alligator tastes any different than normal alligator?
I say we find out.
I don't know. Let's go break in. Let's do this shit.
Taste some gator eggs for the first time. So, yeah, I guess this is the first time ever that two albino alligators have successfully mated.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually really, really interesting.
It is, and I thought maybe as a kid that that albino alligators were a species, but the albinism doesn't. It's not that. It's like it's
like a genetic mutation.
Yeah. So it's interesting that they can take two creatures that I think a lot of times there will be like a sterility when there's that kind of genetic mutation involved.
It's like red hair. It's a genetic mutation. You freaks out there.
Ugh, gross. No, I'm.
Did you know that actually is red hair? That's what it says, mutation.
Oh yeah, I watched South Park.
Crazy, isn't it? Yeah.
There are definitely some fucking beautiful redheaded people out
Oh
there.
heck yeah! I think redhead is cool. My
Yeah.
wife loves redheads. I think she'd be happier if I were a redhead.
Real.
Oh yeah, she loves gingers, like loves them to no end. Like she think any ginger. She doesn't have to be a good looking one. Like she'll see a ginger, she thinks he's the sexiest guy ever, and I'm like, that guy, really?
See, man, I don't want my bias to show, but I think it's hard for dudes with red hair.
I don't know. I'm gonna search hot ginger man. That's a weird thing.
I'm on the other side. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You do that. I'm on the other side.
Yeah,
Most
redhead women.
attractive redhead women. Emma Stone, Julianne
Oh
Moore,
yeah,
Isla Fisher.
this dude's way prettier than I am. He's red hair as fuck.
Let me see.
See, that's a pretty man.
Oh shit, you're frozen. Hold up.
Oh snap!
Oh, let's see if I can fix. See if I can fix you. Oh, I know what happened. I minimized the window. Sorry about that. Show us that picture again, real quick.
Of the pretty redhead. I said he's a good looking guy. Let me go back to it. This is weird. This must be a photo shoot. There's like blue backgrounds with like naked men. It's weird.
I see it. Yeah, they're all in front of that turquoise blue.
This dude, I said, is a very pretty redhead.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. Man. Conan O'Brien. Don't forget about Conan.
Oh man, international sex symbol.
Ed Sheeran.
So my wife thinks Ed Sheeran's cute.
I like that video. That Shape of You video. No, it's an old one.
Shape of You, yeah.
That one with Bieber's pretty good though.
I haven't heard it yet.
Yeah, it's all right. It's all right. Anyways, what are we talking about ginger people for? How did it even turn? Oh, albino alligators. Yeah, guys.
I totally derailed the entire podcast.
Yeah. Let's just start over. Fuck it. All right. Florida man caught pooping on camera in stranger's driveway. This is barely even news at this point. I swear to God, we did a similar story.
Yeah, I think so. I think this is pretty normal. I think in Florida, there's just the bathrooms and driveways are the same thing.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's fair. It was like one of those little, oh, hey. I just now tried to pull up the window capture to show what I was looking at. And it's like just all these sexy redheaded dudes.
All half naked.
Uh-huh. All right, let me try that again.
Man,
don't look at my browser history.
I know. Tell our wives, swear this is what I looked at for the podcast.
Yeah.
It was like that whole thing that I said, that weird porn. I actually watched it for the podcast, with the weird eye rolling thing.
Oh, did you?
When I was texting you the other day, and I was like, oh, this is going to be my subject. And then I just changed it.
Oh, dude.
Because I just wanted to bring it up. So I was watching porn, and my wife's like, what are you watching? Because I'm in the middle of the living room, fully clothed, just watching this weird porn. And my wife's like, I'm like, it's for the podcast.
And she's like, yeah, sure.
He's like, sure it is. I'm like, if it wasn't, believe me, I would not be fully clothed. I would have a Superman t-shirt on like a normal person.
Yeah, I guess there's not a whole lot to delve into there. The guy pulled up into a stranger's driveway, and I don't know why you do it in a stranger's driveway unless it's like a prank.
Yeah, I think if you're pooing in someone's driveway, you're probably not thinking about anything too deep.
just taking a shit.
You're planning. Yeah, I don't think you're planning. I think maybe you just had a shit, and he's like, that guy's driveway looks good.
North Lauderdale resident Wilton Thomas said when he came home from work on Saturday, he discovered a shirt and a turd in his driveway. He said he was shocked when he viewed his Ring camera video and found out how they came to be there. On the video, a man in a green Kia Soul, don't ever trust a man in a green Kia Soul, can be seen pulling into the driveway and opening the driver's side door. He then takes off his shirt and then squats, leaving a load on the pavement. The man then cleaned himself with the shirt, got back in the car, backed up, and drove off, and leaving the excrement behind. The sheriff's office is looking into the matter and hopes someone will be able to give him the scoop on the pooper. Oh. Man, it sounds like he really had to take a shit, but then you have to wonder why he didn't like go on the side yard or something.
I never wonder anything in Florida. I've done enough stories now to just go, that's what happens.
Just take it for what it at face value. All right, last one. Florida man hit and killed by truck weeks before trial in beloved flamingo's death. Do you remember, maybe we didn't talk about this, it sounded real fucking familiar to me. In 2015, in Busch Gardens, there was a man and he just snatched up a flamingo from the other side of one of the exhibits and just flung it by its head and smashes it on the pavement and killed it. Actually, they had to euthanize it. Which is just fucking awful. And when they asked him why he did it, he said he was showing off in front of his daughter. Is that gonna win the kids over?
Great behavior, yeah. Like, my dad can kick your flamingo's ass.
Yeah, right? Like, what are you trying to prove? He's huge.
Yeah, to your daughter, traumatizing. I'm pretty sure her daughter wasn't like, this is the greatest thing ever.
And if she was, you've got a fucking psycho on your hands.
Oh, yeah. No, then if so, yeah, no. You need to just, we need to get that girl institutionalized before she hurts people.
So we don't, you know, like, we try to be earnest in our assessment of serious stuff that happens and don't want to make light of tragedies. But I'd say that, you know, him getting hit by a car it's not poetic justice. Obviously, you can't equate a flamingo's life to a person's life. Flamingos' lives are worth way more than that. But if you if you want to fucking if like this is fine with me. This is fine with me. I'm all right with this.
Thing is, I've said it numerous times, I am 100% okay with killing animals if there's a reason for it. You know what I mean? Like if you're eating it, if it's a wolf or a fox destroying your crops or whatever, there has to be a reason. Just mindlessly killing animals for the sake of killing animals is fucking disgusting and psychotic.
It is. I mean, and that's just that to me. It's like it's symptomatic of a psychological problem. There's something fucking wrong with you.
You have to have deep-seated issues to like want to just randomly kill anything. You know, I'm one of those weirdos too. A lot of times I'll pick spiders up and be like, I'm just gonna put them outside.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, you ain't fucking with me, you know. Now, a moth, screw you, you're dead if you come in my home. But a spider, something like that, like, cool, I'll pick you up. They're minding their own business. You know, it's not, I just mindlessly killing animals and insects of any sort is just fucking weird to me.
I say flies, mosquitoes, ticks, flies, fleas, mosquitoes, ticks, and cockroaches. They can all go. I don't really have too many qualms about any of that. Other than those specific creatures, you kind of gotta fucking treat animals with respect. And I mean, especially like in a amusement park or a theme park where you're surrounded thousands of children, you're a sick fuck.
There's something mentally wrong with you. There has to be. That's not normal thought process.
So this happened in 2016. He pulled a Chilean flamingo named Pinky out of its pen and slammed it to the ground. One of Pinky's legs was nearly severed, and so the bird was euthanized, spurring anger from animal rights activists. It delighted visitors with its dance moves and served as an animal ambassador, according to the Tampa Bay Times. Well, yeah, he later told the police he was trying to show off for his daughter and apologize for killing the bird. Here we are, fast forward 4 years later, and he was hit in a busy intersection while crossing the road near his Orlando home. The driver was not cited or arrested, and I'd say they performed a public service.
They were like, nah, dude, you're all right. They're like, just go.
I was drinking. Yeah, but you don't understand. That guy fucking killed Pinky the flamingo. Like,
this is revenge for Pinky.
Justice for Pinky.
Oh my God, I could picture shirts with that. I'm surprised that wasn't a thing.
Oh God. All right, well, there we go, guys. That's our weird news headlines for the week. Before we move on into our topics, my buddy Holden, he's a religious guy, but like a pretty progressive religious guy, not like a fundamentalist or a crazy person, but he likes, I think he likes the idea of these faith healers. Like there's a bunch of like magicians, like there's this guy named the Amazing Randy, and he would go around and like reveal the secrets of how these faith healers were able to do what they did. Well, he made a video a couple weeks ago, maybe a couple days ago, talking about this one specific church group from here in the area and how basically they were heretics or fucking blasphemous or whatever for faking the fact that they can actually perform these miracles, because people put a lot of stock into that, you know?
Yeah.
And the idea seems to be like, if you don't get healed, if you don't get cured, then it's a problem of your faith and not the lack of ability of this fucking pariah. So he made this video. It got relatively viewed. His content does fantastic here locally, especially. Like, people in the community fucking, like, I'll go out with him and people are like, oh, Holden, I love your videos. He does a lot of Pensacola shit. So anyways.
That's cool.
Yeah, it is neat. It's neat. And he went to this church because they came to the area after he'd made this video. Well, outside, and this is a very popular tactic, outside they all have to fill out these little questionnaires. And back in the day, what happened is you would fill out these questionnaires, what's your name, where you're from, any ailments that you may have that you might be praying to get fixed, and they would turn them into this ballot box. They would take them to accomplice of the actual preacher, and the preacher would be wearing an in-ear monitor, and the person would be in the back like, all right, call the person in the fourth row with the blue shirt. Her name's Betty June, and she is here because she's got cancer. And he'll be like, start to use that information to show that he's got some divine power. God's telling me that you want to have your cancer cured or whatever. Anyways, Holden put his real name on the ballot, and he went to this church, him and a couple of friends, to kind of surveil it. I think Matt, our friend, had a GoPro on him, and he was recording audio in his pocket or whatever. Well, within moments of them arriving, a couple of men officially connected to the church went and like escorted Holden and the group out of the church and were like super aggressive towards them. And Holden got all of it on audio, but none of it on video. And I'm just like, man, look at you troublemaker.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Those, yeah. If you're a fake healer, like that's just kind of, it's pretty low.
Are there real faith healers?
Well, I mean, they're all fake, but I mean, but you know what I mean. It's kind of. I think there's people who believe it themselves, probably.
Mm-hmm.
Which that to me is different than people who obviously don't believe it.
Oh, so you think there are probably people out there who feel like they've been endowed with this spiritual gift, right?
And there has to be, and those people, I don't think they have that gift, but at least it's coming from a more honest place.
How fucking narcissistic would you have to be?
Pretty fucking narcissistic, like our level of narcissism, like where we think we could heal people.
There's this place called Old Path Tea here in Pensacola, and it's an old gentleman who's been around for a very long time here in the community. I think he invented this recipe for tea back in the 70s, maybe the early 80s. God came to him in a dream, and he told him how to make this special brew of tea that would heal people of ailments from depression to fucking AIDS or whatever. I don't know exactly what the properties are supposed to be, but he sells this shit for $30 a gallon, and people drink it like a shot of it every day as like part of their health regimen. And I'm like, dude, I mean, props. That's a fucking good hustle to be able to sell tea for $30 a gallon.
That's my thing, is like, is it kind of shitty? Yeah. At the same time, like, go capitalism, if there's someone stupid enough to buy this shit, good on you, man.
Yeah, see, and that I kind of am with you there. I kind of am with you there. And then I also have to say, and this is even more cynical, how are you going to call out people's religion when all religion is kind of buying into some snake oil shit? I mean, this is my personal opinion. I'm not saying anybody's wrong if they don't feel this way. It's totally fine. But like, if you believe in a man in the sky, then why not believe that some fucking asshole can heal you with faith or whatever? I don't know. And so I think to ridicule one group of religious people over another group of religious people just seems a little elitist to me.
I agree with that, but this is a weird hypothetical like thought experiment I got into one time with one of my friends. I was saying that everything is believing in faith. And what I mean by that is like even science, believing in the Big Bang Theory, even though it's faith because I've never tested it. I'm still taking the word of another man who's telling me this is the way it is.
100%
even though I believe
agreed.
in science.
100% agreed.
I'm like, So it's kind of interesting when you think about it. And people will go, there's a lot of people. I'm like, there's a lot of people who swear religion's true. You know, I'm like, it's just an interesting thought experiment because I think everything is kind of faith based. You don't have time to research and do everything and devote your life to everything. So it's an interesting dichotomy.
No, I 100% agree. I think that's very valid. And I mean, the thing about science, what I like about science is that it is willing to reassess.
Evolve. Yep.
Yes, correct. And what was seen as the conventional knowledge or wisdom at one time, it's been somebody has thought outside the box and redefined what those things are. Just for example, the dinosaurs being related to reptiles versus dinosaurs being related to birds. Nothing has changed as far as the fossils that we have, just the advancements of science surrounding that changes the way that we perceive or translate that information.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, anyways, I think it's interesting. I'm not gonna be that person. Like I said, I get no satisfaction out of destroying people's core beliefs. So like I would never be the person to go and do exposés on religion. But I also think that there's value to it because people should not be cynical, but be discerning, you know?
I agree. The people, I think inquisitive and being that type of thing should always be done. You know, like you shouldn't just blindly follow anything. I'm a firm believer that whether it's politics, whether it's anything, you should try to get as much information on as possible because people are people and everyone has a motive.
All right. So that was my diversion there. What do you want to talk about, man? I came up with some good ones for your topic. Go ahead.
Okay, I want to talk about, I was thinking what franchise, it can be movie, franchise, comic, anything, if I could give to one director, what would it be? So naturally, as the big Ninja Turtles fan, I've never seen a Ninja Turtle movie that I'm like absolutely obsessed with. And so I went with Ninja Turtles for my franchise. I also have some backup ones, but Ninja Turtles. Finding a director for this was actually surprisingly hard because I wanted something, I wanted definitely it to be R-rated, more in line with the comics. But even in the comics, people kind of downplay there's still humor in these comics. You know, so you needed someone who can handle some lighthearted moments. And I would like it to be black and white. And I came up with someone who can do, I think, phenomenal action scenes, capture a comic book vibe, but I also think can do some lighthearted moments. So I kind of went with Robert Rodriguez doing Ninja Turtles.
Oh, man, I'm into it. We've seen him do the black and white with Sin City. We've seen him do all sorts of different action. His tones are able to be like camp and still like, yeah, man, I think that's a great fit. So you think the black and white Ninja Turtles, just to kind of capture the spirit of the comics?
I would like to see it that way, even if they didn't do black and white. But worst case scenario, I would want them to all have red bandanas if they're doing it in color. I would not want them to have the different colors. I want them to be true to the comics, where everyone just wears red. And give it an R, but they're still like Mikey's a goofball in the comics, no matter what version you're in. You know, he does a lot of humor. And I feel like I was thinking of some people, like I thought of like some really dark directors, but I'm like, I think that's too dark. Then I thought of people like Joss Whedon. I'm like, I think that's too light. And then I actually thought of Matthew Vaughn as well. I thought Matthew Vaughn might be able to do it, but I think because I think he can do phenomenal action and he can do comedy. But I think he's too much. And Robert Rodriguez is like, I think can kind of pull it off.
So you're very well versed in the Ninja Turtles. Conceptually, for the people who may not know, what was the birth of the Ninja Turtles? Can you kind of tell people where it came from?
The birth of the Ninja Turtles is, first of all, it's a parody of Daredevil.
Correct.
The hand became the foot. And what's his name? The staff or whatever became Splinter, and it's a parody of that. And even the ooze that falls, it's the same ooze that blinds him, like where they turn. So it's dark, but it is very tongue in cheek from the onset of it. You know, that's kind of the whole point.
More satire than just regular comedy, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of satire, and there's some funny moments in it, and there's a lot of camp. Like, as someone who I would love to see like a dark, gritty one, but I honestly don't think that necessarily there's arcs that are like that. But on a whole, there's a lot of camp and a lot of fun and a lot of good nature with it.
So I'm thinking almost like Schindler's List, like where the movie's black and white, but the bandanas are red. That'd be dope.
I thought that too.
That's how they did it in the comics, right?
No, they're just all black and white.
Okay, I don't know why I
Yeah.
thought that, because we can infer that all of them had red bandanas, but why? How do we know that?
Well, the covers are in color.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. I
Yeah.
got you. Yeah, I never actually read the original comics, but I did, like, I've watched some documentaries about it.
It's good. It's not the best version of the comics, though.
What's the best version of the comics?
The 2012 IDW, which is still ongoing. The IDW Comics bought the license, and well, it's when Nickelodeon got the license, they licensed them out to IDW, and it is not only the best comic, it is the hands down the best version of Ninja Turtles you can ever. It combines all the mythos into one. That's logical. It's great. It's
Nice.
as close to perfect for Ninja Turtles as you can get.
So, do you have? I want to do one. Do you have other ones?
I do have others. You go ahead and do yours.
All right, all right. So I didn't think about it outside of the realm of movies. I don't know that it would have changed my mind. I had a kind of a tough job at this. I was like trying to really think about tones, exactly like you said. Like, what kind of tone are we going for first on what property? And one that I got kind of excited about, and this is very outside the box, but Panos Cosmatos doing A Nightmare on Elm Street. Panos Cosmatos is the guy that did Beyond the Black Rainbow and Mandy.
Oh, okay. I think yes. That is actually brilliant.
I think where he could excel extremely well is the dream sequences and the psychedelic elements that really weren't present in A Nightmare Before or A Nightmare on Elm Street. But I feel like that's where A Nightmare on Elm Street could really be elevated into something else, is if they could capture the surreal nature of dreams, the non-linear way that dreams happen, and how they're nonsensical in a way, but he's really able to capture this like dreamlike atmosphere throughout his movies as they are. Like, I always, and I don't know that I'm the person who like thought of this originally, but I feel like his movies feel like a dream that you had about a movie that you saw back in the 80s. There's like this really I don't know, rich atmosphere. And what I don't know that he can do is the straightforward side of it, like in the waking world where things are supposed to be like normal. I don't know how well he would do in that, but just to imagine some of those Freddy kill sequences done in his visual style, I think would be crazy.
I think it'd be awesome to not have and make it less of a slasher flick, like make it just a little more lean into his stuff. I think it's definitely would elevate that from what it is.
Yeah, man, and they tried to do the Jackie Earle Haley one back in like 2010, and it had some cool elements in the dream stuff, but I want to see that part of the franchise just really cranked up and see what would happen there. So that's one of my picks.
My next one, so I almost went with this one, but it almost happened, so I'm not even going to go into it, but Alien, done by Neil Blomkamp.
That's on my list as well.
Yeah, I'm like, that almost happened. So we can go into that one since it's on both of our lists. I just think he visually, I think would do better for it than Ridley Scott would, personally.
Yeah, where we're at now, I think it needs some fresh blood brought into it. I think it was pretty dick move of Ridley Scott, but at the same time, I understand, like, this is his shit. It's been his shit forever, but Neil Blomkamp was like right there knocking at the door. Michael Biehn had been approached about coming back to play fucking Hicks in it, and right there at the buzzer, Ridley Scott said, nope, not happening, and I'm gonna keep making these movies. And I think it was probably the worst thing for the future of the Alien franchise, because at this point people aren't as enthusiastic about seeing it move forward, where I think we're right there in the perfect time to do that kind of relaunch of the original franchise, similar to what they did with the most recent Halloween movie, where you bring back the original cast members and all of that shit. I think it was really good timing for that, and now I don't know if it's passed.
I mean, but at least Neil Blomkamp now is getting another cyber, series. He's doing the RoboCop remake.
What?
So, yeah.
Oh, that's great. That's a great fit.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Man, yeah, I like that a lot. All right, let's see. What, you got another one?
So actually mine, once I started thinking of Neil Blomkamp and I was like, what can he do? And I was like, well, he's doing RoboCop. He almost did Aliens. So a thing that I actually think he would be very, very interesting to do I would love to see him take a shot at Judge Dredd.
Oh, dude, yeah, that would be a great fit also.
I think like that's that, especially like Elysium, where he saw his view of a dystopian future and it's kind of like run down. I would really like to see him lean into that. And I think his visual style would really bring that world to life.
I don't know who did The Last Dread with Carl Urban, but I liked so much of that movie.
It's the raid in a cyberpunk world, essentially.
Yeah, 100%. Oh, dude, did you like The Raid?
I saw it once when I was really, really drunk, so I need to go back and watch it.
All right. Yeah, I'm curious what you think about that. It is very much like a video game. Punch them up all the way to the top of that building. But I love it. I think it's great. And I think your pick there really does fit the tone of what was established in that previous movie. I thought Carl Urban was an exceptional Dredd. Unfortunately, unless they found some way to go back before that, we couldn't have him in this sequel. Yeah. But yeah, I think that would be a really good mix.
Show for a while, but
what's your next like to see that. All right. So this isn't exactly going to be a moneymaker. I'll just preface it by saying that. Roman Polanski's Apartment trilogy. It started with Repulsion, and then The Tenant, and then Rosemary's Baby. And I think that Ari Aster would be an exceptional fit for those movies. I haven't seen Midsommar yet, but I did see Hereditary. I love his character work. We saw him really do this track the descent into madness with Toni Collette's character so well and so concisely in Hereditary that I think tonally it shares a lot in common with the Apartment trilogy, which basically the Apartment trilogy are 3 movies that they're really not connected in any other way than thematically. And it's basically a person going crazy in an urban environment. Like that's basically all it is. You can't trust your neighbors. You can't trust the people who are supposed to be like there for you, you know, and just that paranoia and that hysteria. I think he could do it really fucking well. And I feel like those movies, other than Rosemary's Baby, are incredibly underseen. So maybe it could, you know, kind of give people an appreciation or a reason to go back and watch the original ones.
That's actually, I think, great. Well, I've talked about it numerous times. Rosemary's Baby is easily my top 3 horror films of all time.
It's a good one.
And I think that is a perfect fit for that series. Even though I wasn't too into the one you just said, I don't know, Hereditary.
Yeah,
I think he is a perfect fit.
All right, what's your next one?
So mine is Tank Girl, directed by George Miller.
George Miller, Mad Max, Fury Road, or all.
Yeah,
man, I like it.
Because I just want to see some crazy kangaroo men fighting in a Mad Max type world.
So your connection to Tank Girl, did it start with the movie or did you know the source material?
No, movie, which I liked as a kid, which is just awful. And then I went to the comics, which are very like that punk rock 80s comic, like
Riot
Ninja
Girl
Turtles
shit.
Yeah. It's really, really cool. And I think in the proper hands, that franchise could be awesome.
Yeah, I like where your head's at. You're kind of keying in on some of the genre movies that I like a lot, and it's like it's high camp, but at the same time it's got like that kind of like punk rock edginess to it. I think that he would be a really good fit for that. Obviously, we know the dude can shoot action like nobody else. He's getting a little long in the tooth at this point, but man, I wish we would have got that Furiosa spinoff or the sequel to the Fury Road or all. But I don't know if it's like too late in the game if we're ever going to see another one by him.
I don't know if we are either, man. But I would love to get that.
So you said Blomkamp for Alien. I actually wrote that as well. But then I also started thinking, like, these are some of my favorite filmmakers working right now. I think Alex Garland could do something really unique with the Terminator franchise.
Ooh, that's a great one. Yeah, I can't believe I didn't even think of Alex Garland. He's like one of my favorite directors.
I say get away from the big action spectacle of the later Terminator movies and make it something a little more cerebral. Strip it down, bring it back to just the basics, and I think he could do something interesting with it that didn't just feel like another sequel to this series that's just it's kind of just beating itself to death at this point.
I agree. Like, I think he could bring something interesting out of it. I think it would tank and Yumi would love it. But
Yes, correct.
It would be such a interesting way because he would strip it down and make it into a more, there's a lot of depth to his films, and I feel like that's something that they could use.
Yeah, it's what they're lacking. They did become like Terminator 2 became the center of the Terminator franchise. If you ask me, it was like everything became built off of that sequel as opposed to being built off of the original. I don't know if that makes sense. I feel like tonally it went way more in that action direction, where Garland could bring it back to being more of a science fiction movie, more of like a contained, I don't know. I think there's a lot of potential there.
Garland would actually make an interesting alien movie too, I think.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. I think he would strip it back to, because to me, Alien is the best of that franchise, and I think Garland would capture that more.
Because I know I got a couple more. Let me do Gareth Evans, the director of Monsters and the director of the 2014 Godzilla, who went on to do Rogue One. What he does so well, is capture ground level reactions and the human ramifications of these gigantic catastrophic events. Like Godzilla 2014, I know people don't all universally love it, but I think most people that saw it can definitely understand why I think he captured the chaos of what that would actually do in our world in a way that no other Godzilla movie had done before. Like just the water displacement. Godzilla gets up out of the water in Hawaii and it creates a tsunami that just fucking floods everything. And you're watching it from ground level. I say all that to say he would do a really great job at War of the Worlds.
Ooh, yeah. That's a really good one because Monsters is phenomenal.
It's really good.
Such an underappreciated film. Like, I think that is just next level filmmaking, and to see him do War of the Worlds, I think he would fit that better than Godzilla, personally.
Yeah, I think you could do some really interesting shit with it, and just those big tripod aliens. Like Spielberg did a pretty good job from capturing those from ground level, and like the panic and all of the chaos that ensues. But I feel like that one's getting to be ripe for being remade. Like it's been 20 years or close to 20 years since the last one. It's a beloved story, H.G. Wells, that's been done several times in the film medium, so it's not like one that is a sacred cow or something, you know?
Yeah, I think he could do a really good job on it. I have actually just one more.
Okay.
So Guillermo del Toro.
Oh, good one.
Doing The Dark Crystal.
Man, why didn't that happen already?
Isn't that like a perfect pairing?
Yeah, I don't think it could be much more perfect marriage of material and filmmaker.
Like imagine because The Dark Crystal, I'm very excited for the new Netflix show. I love The Dark Crystal. Easily my favorite film as a kid. Still one of my favorite
awesome
films. And it's his visual style. Like I would want it to be in his character designs and everything. Let's really lean into, because that's a kid's film that would never be made today. Let's just lean into the weirdness of it. Let's lean into how creepy the Dark Crystal really is. And the Skeksis, I think his design of them, like completely throw everything out and revamp all the designs. I think he could just make, even if it was, predominantly like computer or puppets or whatever, because he uses a lot of practical effects.
Mm-hmm.
I think he would nail that.
So have you seen the cast for the 2019 series?
No, I haven't.
Awkwafina, Helena Bonham Carter, Natalie Dormer, Taron Egerton, Natalie Emmanuel, Mark Hamill, Lena Headey, Jason Isaacs, Eddie Izzard, Theo James, Toby Jones, Keegan-Michael Key, Gugu Mbatha-Raw, Simon Pegg, Andy Samberg, Mark Strong, Anya Taylor-Joy, Alicia Vikander, Sigourney Weaver, Benedict Wong. I'm like, holy fuck, dude. Like, every person in here is A-list talent, and I'm really looking forward to it. But if you would have asked me, hey, who would be the perfect fit to direct The Dark Crystal? I mean, hands down, Guillermo del Toro is just such an imaginative and distinct filmmaker.
Yeah, it's like to me he was built to make that reboot that franchise. It just is one of those things we'll never. I still wish we got to see his Hulk TV show that he was working on with HBO.
Oh man, yeah, so many projects that he's been attached to over the years. Even like, what would The Hobbit have looked like if Del Toro would have ended up
It would
doing
have been
it?
insane.
It would, yeah, and it would have been something unique instead of feeling like it was just unessential addition to the Lord of the Rings franchise.
I agree. Yeah,
That's
I
a
think it
great
would have
pick.
just been- yeah.
All right, so I got two more.
Okay.
So Karen Kusama, not a really well-known filmmaker. She did a movie called The Invitation.
Oh, okay. Great movie.
Great movie, very underseen. Probably a $10 million movie, maybe even a little bit less than that. If you guys are Game of Thrones fans, the guy that played Dario Naharis after the original guy, Michael Screen or Ed Screen, who went on to do Deadpool, the other guy, he stars as the lead in this movie, opposite of what was the guy's name from Logan Marshall Green, the guy from fucking Upgrade. So this movie is about a couple that show up at old friends' houses after a tragedy had kind of split this whole group up, and the couple who own the house, they had recently went to this retreat down in Mexico, like a self-help, lifestyle improvement kind of place where they may or may not have joined a cult. Our lead character starts to get very suspicious that there's something not quite right, that things aren't quite what they appear, but is he just paranoid? Has the grief caused him to be unstable, or is there really something nefarious going on? And just that idea of capturing paranoia, I thought she did exceptionally well. And I think taking that sensibility and applying it to The Thing, John Carpenter's movie, would be a great fit.
I would love to see that. Because the Thing, so I love the original Thing anyway. Like that was one of my favorites. And then the John Carpenter remake I think is great too.
Uh-huh.
And I would like to see her, if I were doing that, marry those two versions, because they're very different films as far as like the monster's concerned.
Yeah, I almost feel like, and I know this is controversial, I love John Carpenter's movie. I don't like the practical effects. I don't think the effects held up in the way that a lot of people did. I think it's kind of gross for gross sake a lot of times. And I like that, that they're kind of doing the body horror, David Cronenberg-esque thing. But I think they could downplay all of the actual alien stuff and play up the psychological element of like, which of us is actually infected with this alien creature inside of us. I think that she could just do a really good job of that. And as much as I love The Thing, I just felt like there's a little too much spectacle in it. It's the other stuff I like the most. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So something a little more cerebral.
I agree with that 100%.
I think that's an interesting thing, because a lot of people laud it as being like some of the best practical effects and all of that, but I feel like it doesn't quite hold up in the way something like the chest burster scene from Alien versus the scene where they're doing the clear boom and they punch straight through the dude's stomach and there's like the big monster mouth in his stomach. Like the Alien is flawless, and then that scene from The Thing, while being similar, it looks fucking pretty silly to me.
Well, and I'm a firm believer of horror and less is more. I think your mind will always create something that worse than you can ever put on camera.
Absolutely.
So I think she would capture that, really well.
So last one, big fan of this filmmaker, S. Craig Zahler. He did Bone Tomahawk, Dragged Across Concrete, and Brawl in Cell Block 99. And he's got a Quentin Tarantino-esque vibe about him. I think he handles ensembles and dialogue really, really well. It's kind of that heightened reality where everybody's a little too cool, a little too fucking witty for it to be like the real world. But I think taking those sensibilities, and he loves to cast old school. Like he works with Kurt Russell, Vince Vaughn, Mel Gibson in his most recent movie. And I think that taking his style and making a Predator movie built around that would be fucking dope.
I actually think that's because the only one I've seen of his, I think, is, you said Bone Tomahawk?
Yeah,
I've seen that one.
It's good.
I haven't seen his other one. Great film. But I think that's a really good. because to me, Predator, like I've always said this, for me, I think is a bad movie that's beloved, and I feel like sometimes we put too much pressure on it, and the only even halfway decent one is the Robert Rodriguez one.
That's the only one of the franchise you think's good. So you think the first one's a bad movie?
I love every single movie, but they're all bad.
All right.
You know,
I can see that.
That's why when the new one came out, I was like, it's dumb and horrible and has awful humor. It's a Predator movie. Like, I didn't understand the hate.
Yeah.
But I think I would like more out of that, because I do think there is more to be had out of that franchise, that we've never let it really spread its wings into something greater than what it is.
I think Rodriguez was on to some things with his take on it, and it seemed to be the one out of all of them that got abandoned in the new movie. Like, they don't really address it. And I think, like, other than the original, it's definitely the strongest entry. I think, like, it's the most masculine fucking science fiction movie ever made. Like, it's the most macho bullshit, you know, the Carl Weathers and Arnold Schwarzenegger shaking each other's hands.
It's so ridiculous.
And I think that Zoller understands that masculinity in a way that a lot of filmmakers don't these days. Like, his approach to Bone Tomahawk was take a Western movie and then throw a horror element into it. And so we've got the same idea of taking an action movie and throwing the science fiction element into it. And I think that he could do something. I think a lot of these people, they seem like unconventional picks. I think both of us, like, got our favorite filmmakers and then just thought, like, what could they do that would work out good for their style? And I think that this is one that just, like, I don't know that anybody's seen Dragged Across Concrete yet. It's fucking good, dude. It is, like, it's very, very cool. And I'm really looking forward to what this guy does next. I know he wrote Puppet Master, The Littlest Reich, which is the most recent Puppet Master movie.
I didn't know that.
Did you see that?
No.
It's terrible. It's terrible. It's so bad. The original Puppet Master is better. It's got better special effects. The stop motion's better. The fucking creature or the puppets look cooler. I don't know what went wrong with The Littlest Reich, but what I appreciate about it is it's just completely non-conformity. Like, it is button pressing. It is the most non-PC movie I've ever seen. Like, he goes all in and just making the most offensive fucking version of Puppet Master ever. And for that, I appreciated it.
I just thought one real quick and then we'll wrap it up. Just popped into my head. I would love to see Seven Samurai directed by Quentin Tarantino.
Oh, man. Fuck yeah. That would be fantastic.
Like, that's such because the way he handles multiple characters, and he loves Japanese gore, like the samurai movies. I think he could just make something next level off of that.
Or a Ryan Coogler Miami Vice.
Ooh, that's a very good one. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, we could do this all day.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So before we wrap this up, guys, we're going to touch on my topic. We won't go super long because I think we had a lot of fun with that last one. But let's go ahead and talk about some embarrassing moments. I wrote a couple down. I'll go to the most embarrassing moment, and that's my topic. Is just in my life, some of the most embarrassing moments. Caleb, do you have one as well?
I have. So the thing is, I realized I don't get embarrassed very easily. So most of mine are from childhood.
Yeah.
When I used to get embarrassed.
I am almost completely shameless in my day-to-day existence, and then I'll get high and I'll reflect on things that I've done in the past, and I'm like, you are a fucking idiot. So I've got a couple on here. Real quick, when I was in middle school, I played baseball and I caught a pop fly straight in the eyeball. That was pretty embarrassing. And then I was in college and I was with a friend and we were drinking at Chili's on Bayou, and he got up and said he was going outside to smoke a cigarette. I told him I was broke. I was like, dude, I can't go out with you tonight. I'm broke. And he's like, oh, it's fine. I got you. And then after we had been eating and drinking at Chili's, he's like, all right, man, you ready to go? And I'm like, fuck, you said you were going to take care of it. You said you were going to pay for it. Anyways, he ended up leaving. I'm stuck there with the tab, have no money, and I'm like, fuck it, I guess I'm out of here. So I took off, got in his car. We went out to the club, totally forgot about it. 2 weeks later, cops show up knocking on my door. They've got my ID. They're like, hey, were you at Chili's 2 weeks ago? No. And he's like, well, I got your ID right here. They said that you owe a tab. I ended up getting arrested and taken to jail for a fucking $40 bar tab at Chili's. And that was humiliating. That was like super embarrassing. Because I had to take the fucking fall for it, and it was totally not my idea. So that was bad. But the one that I want to talk to you about today, and Caleb, you already know about this, but a couple months back, maybe a year ago, I was messing with OBS. This is the software that we're using to stream right now, and I was changing some of the settings, trying to get everything calibrated for the best possible outcome when we do recording. Somehow in the process of all of this, I ended up going live. Like, I'm live streaming. No idea. Me and Victoria are hanging out in here, and I'm just kind of talking to her about building this set that I have behind me right now. And I'm like, oh, I got these cool ideas. Just kind of talking about that for a couple minutes while I'm smoking weed, and I'm cool with that. Like, it's not a big deal. Like, I'm not like a huge, like, that's who I am. I'm a pothead. But at the same time, it's fine. It's pretty culturally acceptable, at least among a lot of people. Victoria, on the other hand, she don't want people to fucking... That's our business. She doesn't want the world having to broadcast it. She's in here smoking with me. And then she and I walk out of the room. I continue to live stream. I come back in here, close the door behind me. Now it's just me. I'm all alone. My wife's not even in here. So I'm doing things that, like, I don't do around anybody. I'm, like, sitting here, reading off the computer. No big deal. Still smoking. Doing that thing, like, big, gigantic pools and, like, sitting back and blowing these giant dragging clouds of smoke. And then I'm like reading more, start like picking my nose, just like completely unaware of what's going on. And I look down and I'm like, 37 minutes of live streaming. Oh, fuck. So I stopped it. And it takes a minute to process, like between me hitting the stop button on the software and it actually stops streaming. And then it takes a minute before I'm able to go in and edit that video. There were like 7 people watching it for an unknown amount of time. And right after I hung up, this person that I had met at Pensacon the year before messaged me and they're like, hey, you're live streaming and I don't think you know it. I'm like, oh, fuck, I wish you would have texted me 15 minutes ago. So that's one of the most embarrassing things ever, because I've been trying to like build, this respectable content.
Like
well,
brand,
within reason, but definitely not a good look. So that's my most embarrassing moment. What about you?
So mine is from when I was a little kid. So, I was a very awkward child. I was definitely quite the opposite of being cool. I was a little obese kid who played with action figures way too late into life, and just an all-around nerd. And I don't remember the kid who came over, and I was probably like 10 or 10 years old, roughly. I'm guessing off the top of my head. But they came over, and we were hanging out, and I decide to be like, hey, I'm going to show you guys my action figures. Which, okay, you're 10 years old. Yeah. Back at that time, for whatever reason, because I was a weird little kid, I loved troll dolls. Like
Yeah.
And so I remember being like, hey, let's play toys. And bust out all these troll dolls. And this little kid looks at me like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And it was at that moment where you're like, oh, I'm a fucking nerd and I'm weird. Like, you have that realization where you're like, and then so of course he goes to school and then tells everybody,
oh no,
I fucking play with troll dolls.
I mean,
and that was one of those things as a kid.
That's hilarious. So at 10 years old, I guess most kids were probably playing with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Is that what like the big toys were when you were a kid?
Probably like X-Men, the 90s X-Men show.
Yeah,
I played with those too. Sometimes they would fight my trolls.
The thing about trolls is they weren't articulated.
No, do you remember the battle action trolls? Have you ever seen these?
No.
Like action figures or like cyborgs, and there was like a Terminator one. I had those too, but I also had normal ones. That's what got me into trolls. Were the like search Terminator troll? They're actual action or troll action figures. They had a cartoon of it too.
Oh wow, they look pretty dope.
Yeah, so that's what got me into it.
They're like a mix between Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and trolls. Yeah, I'm looking at the Terminator one right now with the he's got like a yellow cyborg face. I had all of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle like the first line, like every single one of them. We were such spoiled little kids. And then my brother, my older brother, his hand-me-downs that we got from him were the He-Man action figures. But I had a shitload of troll dolls too, man. They were really treasure trolls.
Yeah, trolls were the shit.
Yeah, man. So were kids at school, were they mean to you about it?
Well, they definitely thought it was funny, and I was already not a cool kid, so it was like not a good combination.
Well, that was the most tame, embarrassing story ever. You got nothing else. When's the last time you shit your pants?
I've never shit my pants.
All right, I guess we'll wrap it up on that.
That's the thing is, like, I don't get embarrassed, so it's really hard for me to think that I had to go back to being a kid.
I've had some horrifying ones.
I walked in front of my open windows once, my sliding glass doors at an apartment complex, butt ass naked, and there are people in the pool, but big deal. People saw my fat ass and my dick. It's okay.
All right, guys. Well, we will go ahead and pass this over to you. Name some embarrassing moments that you want to share on the internet in this comment section that may live forever. Make sure that you just dig deep into that conscious and let us know your most humiliating moments. We would love to hear them from you. Also, what do you think about any of these other topics that we were discussing? Let's hear your pairing of beloved franchise with beloved filmmaker and why they would make a good fit for it. Leave that shit down in the comments section. If you enjoyed this video, do us a favor, take a second, smash that little thumbs up button. It really helps the channel. It helps us know what kind of content you are enjoying. And if you want to stay up to date with all of our content, then all you got to do is subscribe. Click the little bell for notifications, and then cross your fingers that you get notified when the video gets released. And until next time, and on behalf of both of us, be terrible.